I'm going to share with you a few lessons that I've learned along my path about leadership. And it starts 40 years ago when I started in the educational system as a student. Since then I've been a teacher, and now the last several years been in an official leadership position. And along the way, I've, like you, gotten several degrees and been in a lot of classrooms and learned a lot of things. I have a strong passion about the societal context in which we work, and the purpose is bigger than ourselves. I've devoured numerous books on leadership and systems and organization, and had a lot of conversations with other really passionate leaders in the field. But for today's talk, I want to share with you lessons that I've learned from three of the teachers in my life that have been the most impactful. And here they are: Natalie, Andrew, and Jay Mixdorf, my three children. They are some of the best people that I know, and they have taught me more about how to be a leader, how to live life, and how to go about business than anything I've read in any other aspect that I've gone through. And so I'm going to start with a lesson that Andrew taught me, and this is to have passion for the work that you do. Andrew has been taking things apart since he could move. There was not a toaster in our house that was safe, and it wasn't until much later in life that he was able to put them back together. But it shouldn't have surprised me then at age 16 when he came home from school one day and he's like, "Mom, I've got my license, I'd like to buy a Trans Am." And so, of course, as any good mom, I said no and squished that dream very quickly. Luckily, though, he pursued that conversation and convinced me that a 1978 blue Trans Am would be good to have. The reason that I said yes was it didn't have an engine and it didn't run. So I thought, well, that seems safe. You can have that. And so he spent hours and hours and hours around and read and learned and took that engine apart and put it back together, and has been working on cars, buying and selling them. He's got a goal of having 25 cars by the time he's 25. He's 23 and has had 19. So he's well on his way. And I think about the gift that I have from that particular story as a leader in the work that I do now. And when I see passion in people, instead of thinking the reasons that I should say no now, I think about why I should say yes. I also think that when you're following your passion, you don't have to know everything you need to know before it becomes something that is inspiring to do. He did not know how to rebuild engines, or I didn't think that he did. And so it took him hours and time, but because of that, he's developed a passion that actually has led him into the work that he does now. He's a graduate of Iowa State in industrial technology and ag systems, and works for a small company here. And they make things that make things. That's all I know about it, but it sounds interesting and it sounds right up his alley. And so he has inspired me along the way to celebrate people's passion. Lesson 2 comes from my daughter, Natalie. This was a hard lesson for me. I wrestled with it and didn't really enjoy it at the time, but now I'm grateful for it. Natalie has always been a deep thinker. She is a soulful person. She was meant to do something bigger than herself, and I've known that for a long, long time. And so when she graduated from high school, she decided that her path would be to join the Army. And so as she walked on that path, fighting me the entire way, you'd think with Andrew's lesson I would have learned to support that, she joined the Army. She left. I remember dropping her off at Camp Dodge, one of the harder moments of my life as a mom. And I also remember 8 weeks later when, for the first time in 2 months, I'd gotten to see her again and talk to her other than through snail mail. The power of that moment, and I've never in my life had a moment where my emotions were so separate, because I had this really deep-seated fear and worry and anxiety for the path that she was taking. But then on the other side, I had this enormous pride and awe and inspiration that she was able to have the strength to do what it was that she was doing. So from that experience, I know through the sharing of all of our other Ignites that everybody's had moments. And I think about the impact of really being intentional with that in the work that we do. We're in the people business. And we know that we create moments for others through walking around and being in interaction with relationships with people. And we also have people that create moments for us. And whether they're painful or inspiring or a combination of the two, like Natalie's was, I think it's important to celebrate and pay attention to those moments. And lesson 3 comes from my baby, Jay. Jay, like Andrew, when Andrew was little, he was taking things apart. Jay, on the other hand, was moving. Jay has been moving since he was born, and mostly in a running fashion. And so, no surprise, Jay is also the youngest. So he loves a good challenge. He's the youngest not only in our family, but of the cousins. And so when he's challenged to do something, he rises to the occasion. And so this picture here is of Jay being very young in his first 5K, that of course his cousins and his brother said, let's go do this. And he didn't know any better, so he said yes. And the smile on his face is how Jay walks or runs through life now. If you would have seen him, this happens to be at the end of the race, but if you would have seen him throughout the race, this is what he looked like the whole time running. I don't know about you, but I never look like that when I am running. So we knew there was something about running and Jay that should go together. And so Jay fast forwarded from this first 5K into his junior high and high school life, and started to continue to fall in love with running, and he started to set some goals for himself. And he had a goal of running a mile in less than 5 minutes. He had the goal of competing in state cross country and finishing in the top 20. And he had a goal of competing at Drake relays in the 1600 and the 3200. And what you wouldn't know as you watched him fulfill those goals is all of the dedication and hard work behind the scenes. It looked like it was easy when he went out there and did those things, and luckily for him, he has completed all of those goals. But the work, changing his nutrition, getting up early in the morning, doing the core workouts, running long runs, running short runs, running fast, running slow, hours and hours and hours and hours that it took behind the scenes for him to actually fulfill his goals. He also in this lesson taught me that your goals should be lofty, and there should be a little bit of a risk of failure, that you might not make it, but if you do the work, you're either going to get close or you're actually going to pull that forward. He actually now is an athlete at Wartburg College going into his sophomore year. So luckily for me, I still get to see him compete and do what he loves to do. The last goal is kind of the combination of all 3 kids. I don't know that being a mom is necessarily special. Lots of us are moms or dads or parents. But being the mom of these 3 for me was such a privilege. They're so different in the way that they see life and the way that they walk through life. And as I got to go through that with them, I got to learn a lot about myself and a lot about how you should tackle life. And I take that with me when I meet families, when I meet new friends like you in this room, and as I go into Edwards. The uniqueness, the individuality, the things that I can learn from you and the work that I do is very, very special to me. And I'm excited to be here and share some moments, set some goals, and share my passion with others that have similar passion. So, thank you.